Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Hoping you're enjoying your day and your favorite adult beverage or coffee drink from your Juxtaposition 1 mug. You get yourself one of these handsome mugs if you haven't got one already. You can mail me a check to my P.O. Box. Check the links below. All right, so what I wanted to tell you is today's story is entitled Mississauga Monster and Christine Demeter. Mississauga Monster and Christine Demeter. Now, her maiden name was Christine Ferrari. She was Austrian born, Austrian national. She was brutally bludgeoned to death at age 33 on July 18th, 1973, in a suburb approximately miles from the obelisk in Toronto, Canada, Ontario, Canada. This is a suburb of Toronto, and it is across the Credit River, which is a very small tributary, and it's across from the University of Toronto Mississauga campus, which was newly presented. I believe it operated under a different name until it became part of the University of Toronto system. And that's essentially the backyard from where Christine Demeter was killed, in her garage. The two-car garage. It's detached from the main home. It's a colonial style, one-level main home with a swimming pool in the backyard, which looks out over undeveloped meadowland, including the Credit River is in the back, looking west. And then on the west side of the Credit River, you'll find the University of Toronto campus, which is a large amount of acreage. That's important because when you want to defend the murderers, you can always cast a shadow over at the University of Toronto campus, who, by the way, has a series of co-ed murders, abductions and murders happening in and around that campus, which so happens to be the same zip code as Christine Demeter's zip code, where she was brutally hit upside the head approximately 6 times with either a tire iron or a crowbar. Um, those are the two most likely objects used. There was no murder weapon found. There was a tremendous amount of blood on the concrete of the garage. Like I said, it's a detached, standalone garage with two garage doors, which are electric motor driven. Um, I'm going to do today what really is a Reader Digest review of the murder. This murder was brought to us by one of my Star Chamber investigators, Parasolance Rose Papastamas. She's the one from the Ontario, Canada region who was very familiar with this trial and believed she was babysitting in this exact neighborhood at the time of this murder. This is the second home at the end of a dead-end cul-de-sac, the murder house where Christine Demeter was brutally murdered in the garage. The address is 1437 Dundas Crescent North, second home to the dead end. Now, directly across the street from this house today stands a church. There's a white cross there. That's important because the police utilized that church, which may have been a house in 1973, to tap the phones of Christine's husband. His name is Peter Demeter, and he is the most infamous person in the story, and he was charged with planning the murder of his wife. He was not charged with the capital murder of his wife. He had an airtight alibi, and nobody said he killed her, okay? But they essentially presented a case. The Crown prosecution in Ontario, Canada, presented a case against Peter that he was a murder for hire planned conspiracy and that involved multiple people. This case fits into sensationalism, glamour, celebrity status, beautiful people. Um, it happened during the height of Dizzy Summer on July 18th, 1973. So we have beautiful weather, summertime, long, long days leading into late sunsets. And we have the University of Toronto in the backdrop of this murder house, which is equipped with its own outdoor swimming pool attached to. And Peter and Christine Demeter hosting a group of women from all parts of the world, two teenage German tourists, two teenage girl German tourists, and then a female physician from the United States. I believe she's from Connecticut. And I have the names of the visitors here. Um, we have one teenager from the United States, teenage girl, and the doctor is Sybil Brewer, and I believe she's from Connecticut. So we have an adult female, Sybil Brewer. We have a United States teenage girl, and we have two German teenage girls. So it's a grand total of four house guests. Plus, we have a family dog in the picture, and the family dog has a very cute name, of course. And of course, I've written it down multiple places. The dog's name, I believe it's a Cocker Spaniel, is Belzebub. Belzebub is the name of the dog. So we have a dog. We have Christine Demeter, who is a wife and mother of a 3.5-year-old daughter by the name of Andrea. So we have Andrea, 3. We have Peter Demeter, age 40. We have Christine Demeter, age 33. And we have the three teenage girls plus a female doctor. So the house is full with the dog and a grand total of 6 women and 1 man. So what does that add up to? That's 7 humans and a dog. All right. And it's the height of Dizzy Summer. Now, Peter is in the real estate construction development business. He has a company which is entitled, uh, the Eden Paradise Custom Builders. You get that? That's very important because there is a distinction and a difference between a real estate contractor and a real estate developer. Peter is born from Budapest, native. His wife is from near Vienna, Austria, and they immigrated to Montreal, Canada. In the case of Peter, he came with a group of 200,000 Hungarian refugees who were under um, oppression from the Russians, and he immigrated to Canada in 1956. 1956, and then he settled in Toronto, whereupon eventually he got into the real estate industry. He has some obvious friends, investor or banking friends, to get him jump started. He founded a company that is called Eden Gardens Eden Gardens Custom Builders. Eden Gardens. I think I mistakenly referred to it as Eden Paradise. Eden Gardens Custom Builders is the name of his business, which really started to gain traction in 1962 after being here for 6 years. And at the time of his wife's brutal death, Peter was 40 years old. She was 33. Now, you should know that all was not marriage. They did have a 3-year-old daughter, Andrea. However, both the husband and the wife were cheating with other people. In the case of Christine, um, she was cheating with a businessman from Toronto, and I have his name here somewhere. There are You really could do about 2 dozen videos on this case. This is O.J. Simpson, times 10. This is equivalent to an O.J. Simpson blockbuster trial. This is Canada's longest running murder trial. Despite the fact that Peter was not charged with capital murder, he was charged with arranging for the murder of his wife, which is called non-capital murder. But not initially, not at the point of the arrival of the police. They had to conduct an investigation, a rather elaborate investigation, I might add. There's a lot of confusing pieces here, a lot of moving parts. But you should know that Christine was having an affair over 2 years with a businessman from the Toronto area, and um, and concurrently, Peter was having an affair. Both, it's his affair. It was a former lover, so it was someone he was dating before he married Christine, who's also a model from Vienna, Austria. So he likes to date models from Vienna, Austria, which Christine was. Christine Ferrari was a model from Austria, as was Marina Hunt, who was slightly younger. Marina Hunt was having an affair with Peter Demeter before he married Christine, and then during the time that he married Christine. And he had just finished a 5-day romantic vacation with Marina Hunt, who flew over from Austria to meet with him in Montreal, Canada. And they traveled around and sort of had a honeymoon type thing just 30 days before Christine Demeter was brutally hit upside the head 6 times with a tire iron. I'm going to go with the tire iron. Uh, I don't know what else to say. Crowbars are hard to come by. Tire irons, almost every car has a tire iron. All right. So, meanwhile, unbeknownst to Peter or not, we don't know if Peter knew about her affair. I don't think he cared. He's living his life independently of her. She is also living her life independent of him, except she is dependent on cash flow. And what's missing from my story? Who are the investors or financiers for Peter Demeter? I do suspect that he has, silent partners. And the reason I say that is because of the Masonic numbers. I'm not saying that this is a Gladio NATO murder. It doesn't look like one. However, Peter Demeter is involved in a wealthy society cult of some type because the home that he's in, which was a custom-made home that he built or his company built for him, the address comports to a 33. I told you the murder address of the garage where Christine Demeter was found dead, face down on the concrete. That address is 1437 Dundas Crescent North. If you add those numbers up, 1 plus 4 plus 3 plus 7, you get 15. 15 is a 1 plus 5 is a 6. 6 is a 33. That's comports to the highest level of obedience of the Pyramid of Power, the obelisk. The obelisk is a chain, and the highest 33. So there's a 33 house. That's more than a coincidence. You should know that, of course, Christine Demeter is age 33. That is the highest level of obedience. It's just like Erin Valente was 33, right? When she was murdered, not so brutally. She was murdered by a manic episode. All right, so the Mississauga monster was operating concurrently with this. There were 3 other women who were killed before and after the murder of Christine Demeter. And they were Constant Dickey, age 19, who was a student of University of Toronto. And then we have Netta Novak. She was 18 years old, and she was abducted and murdered and her body found basically near the backyard area of the Demeters' estate property on the Credit River. Then there was a abduction and rape of Julia Sheldon, age 16. She was left for dead, but she wasn't dead. And she positively identified her attacker as being Henry Roberts Williams, age 24. Now, confusing there is that Henry Williams is married with children, and you don't really expect a married man with children to be abducting co-eds or high school kids and raping them. But anyway, he did confess to the two murders and was guilty. And thanks to the positive identification of Julia Shelton, hopefully she wasn't pressured into it. And this casts a shadow on the murder of Christine Demeter, because we have three women who were abducted and two of which were killed in very close proximity, walking distance from her murder. So you certainly could throw out a net and say, hey, maybe Henry Williams did it, right? Except for the following very disturbing facts. One is that the night of the murder, which is July 18th, 18 is a 666, mark of the beast. If you invert it, turn your back to it, you'll have a 999, met a debt. And that was the night that was selected to have someone kill Christine Demeter. But of course, she's in the house with her 3.5-year-old daughter watching television. It was Peter's idea to go 25 miles away to the mall, to the shopping mall, to get a gift for his lovely wife. So he invited everyone, but suggested that it be a surprise so that Christine brought her home and that Peter would take the two German teenagers, the American teenage girl, and the doctor friend, and take the car and drive to the mall, including the family dog. The family dog, which dogs are not permitted to go into the shopping mall, right? So I'm not really clear why you would take the dog on a shopping trip when you leave your wife and 3-year-old daughter. Why not leave the dog behind, right? That's what I would have done. But that's kind of a quirky thing that Peter insisted on taking the dog. Now, the other thing that's unusual is it's a two-car garage and they have two cars. Peter drives a Cadillac. He keeps it in the right side bay. And he bought a Mercedes-Benz four-door sedan for Christine. That's parked on the left side bay with its own electric garage door opener. Now, it just so happens that the Cadillac's battery had been run down and was dead. So Peter said, well, I'll take your car and we'll be back at 9:45. I think they left, a little bit before 8 p.m. and they were to go to Burke's jewelry store to buy a gift for Christine Demeter, the model mother wife of Peter Demeter. So everybody piles into the Mercedes and off they drive. Okay. Then when Peter and the girls, the ladies, are shopping at the jewelry store, he asks to use the telephone. He calls back to his home there at 1437 Dundas Crescent cul-de-sac, and he talks to Christine on the phone, and it's unclear what he said. We don't have a recording of that conversation, but it appears he asks her to go into the garage and get something in the loft above the cars. The Mercedes, of course, is out, and the Cadillac is still there. So perhaps he asked her to maybe hoist herself up, open the passenger door of the Cadillac, and it's only an 8-foot distance. You should know that Christine Demeter stands 5'2". She's very tall. It's a tall model. So either she could stand on the passenger door frame, or she could get up on the hood and she could definitely reach whatever it was that Peter requested. Anyway, that there was reason for Christine to leave the house after that phone call. The ladies said that they remembered the phone call being around 8:30. One of the women was handed the phone, and she talked to Christine at 8:30 that same night. Then they hung up the phone, and Peter bought a necklace for Christine, and they rung it up and returned to the car and drove back home. And they arrived in the driveway, which is a gravel driveway then. Today it's been paved. The house has been torn down and rebuilt, of course, since it's a murder house. But anyway, they drove up the gravel driveway, and Peter remarked to the ladies in the car, and they all remember him saying, "We're right on time." Then he pushed the button to the electric garage door on the left bay, and it rose up, and his headlights clearly shone on his dead wife, Christine, and an enormous pool of blood, which had now flown out onto the gravel driveway. And it was a tremendous amount of blood from 6 head wounds, including brain matter that was coming out of the skull. Very, very, very violent bludgeoning of the deceased, Christine Demeter, Christine Ferrari Demeter. All right. So one of the German teenage girls thought whatever Peter said was what happened. So Peter says, "Oh my God, she's had an accident. She was reaching up to get something, must have lost her balance and hit her." So one of the German teenagers thought that she had conked her head by accident. The other, the sister, German teenage girl, thought it was a murder from the get-go. She thought that was a murder. That was no falling off of the car and conking your head injury. And of course, the medical exam proved that no, you'd have to bounce like a basketball 6 times off the concrete, and it wouldn't necessarily produce the type of divots in her head. So she was definitely killed by a blunt force instrument, either a tire iron or a crowbar, or possibly a ball peen hammer or a hammer of some kind. Although I think a hammer would have a more distinctive wound pattern, so I'm going to rule out hammer. But at the trial, they said crowbar or tire iron, so I'll stick with that. All right, so you have a situation now where Peter calls the emergency number. Police arrive about 20 minutes later, just after 10 p.m. About police. They were struck by Peter's behavior. They thought his behavior was odd because after 15 minutes, he asked the police, "When can you take Christine out of here?" Like she was a sack of potatoes to be removed from the property. They didn't feel that that was the proper response for a grieving husband who had just discovered his wife in a pool of blood in the garage. But he seemed to be motivated to get her off the property. All right, so that's an interesting observation the police made. The other is that the electric garage door for the Cadillac, the right side bay, had just been disabled. Wasn't broken. It had been unplugged. So it was functional, but it could only be raised through manual effort. And when the police arrived, that garage door was opened approximately 3 feet, 36 inches. And that was the way it was remembered by the tourist house guests, that the Cadillac right side garage bay was open when they drove up the driveway. Now, I'm sure there's a rear door to enter that garage, and perhaps Christine entered through the rear door. But the killer would have had to enter the garage as well and lied in wait. And it would sort of appear that Peter prompted his wife to leave Andrea in the house and go out to the garage to go fetch something that was in the loft above the Cadillac. And when she entered the garage, she was accosted by the killer, who was in the shadows on the side of the garage, and conked her on the head when she had her back turned to the killer in the shadows. And perhaps the killer walked out through the open door in the right bay where the Cadillac was. Now, there are no footprints walking away from the garage, so whoever the killer was, they must have worn booties and or not left smudge marks There was a tremendous amount of blood. And given the dark, shadowy, I don't know how well illuminated the room was. I'm sure there was a light that was turned on so that so Christine could go fetch whatever it was she was looking for in the garage. The keys to the Cadillac were actually found on the passenger seat of the Cadillac, which is bizarre. And the battery in the Cadillac is dead. So there's no way Christine could flee the property or leave in the Cadillac. It was out of commission. The garage door didn't work unless you manually lifted it up. And I believe that would be possible, but it was only up 3 feet. And the car doesn't work. No, no battery. So you have a situation here where it would appear that Peter did not want his wife Christine to leave the property. That had perhaps someone waiting to kill her. All right, that's the overview. Now, what police did is based upon the strange behavior of Peter wanting his wife to be removed from the property quickly as possible. They, without a warrant, because the warrants were not required to surveil people, so they put at least 2 policemen across the street where that church is, and they put them over there with surveillance equipment, and they tapped his phone, listening to every phone call conversation. Now, there's a whole host of cohorts in play in this case to further make it complicated. We have Mr. Axe, we have Mr. Stark, we have Mr. X, Mr. Stark, we have the Pizza Man, Pizza Operated Man. These are all Hungarian people. There's the Hungarian Mafia appearing involved with ager. In other words, clandestine operatives who are all from Hungary, all natives of Hungary who have settled in Toronto and the suburbs of Toronto. There's a whole Hungarian mafia. This is not different than the Sicilians taking over, the suburbs of Manhattan, New York, because you had Queens, Bronx, Brooklyn, uh, Yonkers, and Manhattan and Staten Island. And thus we created the 5 crime families of New York, mostly with Sicilians and all immigrants from Palermo or Messina. So we have something strikingly similar in Ontario, Canada. We have a number of Hungarians, some of whom have citizenships for Canada, and many do not. Many do not. And it's really just like it's in New York. We have Gyla Viraj, who is a broker that Peter went to find a killer to kill his wife. We have Vert Stark, who Christine went to find a killer to kill her husband, Peter. Then we have Joseph Joe DiNardo, not his real name. He's a Hungarian illegal alien, does not have Canadian status. And he's a professional boxer, Hungarian, who lives in Toronto. And Christine about a killer for her husband, Peter. Then we have the pizza operator in the suburb there of Toronto. Uh, what's it called? The Mississauga pizza delivery. We have his name is Zale. Csaba Zale. He's Hungarian, and he was hounded for years, for over 6 years, listening to Peter Demeter's plans to electrocute his wife in the swimming pool, or to have her fall down a staircase, or conk her head, or somebody shoot her. He went through dozens of scenarios of killing his wife whilst he ordered pizza there at Chaba's Pizzeria. You should also know that Vert Stark, who Christine approached, he's a member of the French Foreign Legion. Well, that's contract killers. So Christine seems to know where to go to get a killer. Then, of course, you should know that just a couple months before the murder, Peter suggested they take out life insurance. Now, they took out a joint life policy, which is unusual, to insure both Christine and Peter for $1,100,000 each, which would be like dollars today. Anyway, they each took out life insurance, and upon the death of either one, the other one would get it. Now, if it was a double death, then I guess the policy would then revert to their estate or their trust. I don't know if it was owned by a trust, an insurance, life insurance trust would be the smartest way to hold that policy. Personally, myself, I would have ordered two policies, his and hers. I would have two life policies. That's not what they did. They ordered a joint policy, one policy that would pay on the death of either one. And as you know, Christine was killed in a brutal homicide. Now, the insurance company wouldn't pay out until the investigation was concluded. And when her husband was charged, they refused to pay. And then Peter had to go to civil court to sue the insurance company to pay. And they refused because he was convicted of arranging for the murder of his wife. Okay, because what happened is there's some other women, in other words, there's other women, just like there's another man involved in the case of Christine. She's seen a man whose name, I find it here. Okay, Christine is having an affair with a Toronto businessman, Nicholas von Barkel. Nicholas von Barkel, and that's almost 2 year long affair. And their affair was 1970 to 1971 and supposedly was ended 2 years before her murder. Peter was carrying on an active affair with Marina Hunt, and that is spelled different than you think. Hundt. Marina Hunt, who is only 28 years old to Christine's 33 years old. She's essentially 13 years younger than Peter. And they had an on again, off again romance, and they dated before he married Christine. And then he's going on 5 day vacations with her whilst he is still married to Christine. And that was just 30 days before her death. So he has an active romance with Marina Hunt. She has an inactive relationship with this gentleman by the name of Nicholas von Berkel. Are you following me? And then we have all these tourists, visitors living in the house. Now, the police didn't cordon off the house. They did a visual walkthrough of the residence, but they continued to allow the house guests to stay there during the ongoing investigation, which took about 2 months, before they eventually arrested Peter Demeter based upon conversations he had with the pizza guy, Chaba. He incriminated himself when he was talking to Chaba about his wife's death. And on that basis, and the life insurance, and the fact that he was having an affair with Marina Hunt, they felt they had enough probable cause for motive and means. And what they didn't have, of course, was the killer. Now, who were the suspects? Okay, they had no shortage of people who might have done it. We have much testimony from a variety of different people. There's no shortages of people who have stories to tell under oath. And this just muddies up the water, muddies it up very nicely. Let's to cut to the chase. We think the actual killer, the most likely person to Ferrari Demeter, is actually a Hungarian national with no Canadian citizenship. And his name is, got it right here, of course, Emery Olicek. Emery Olicek. He also is a member of the French Foreign Legion, and he was supposedly referred to Peter Demeter by, get the right, we have 4 different murder referral brokers in this case. We think it was Mr. X. We think it was Mr. X. Mr. X is Gyla Viraj, and that he's the one who referred Emery Olichik to Peter, and he did it. But of course, when the police went to talk to him, he'd already fled back to Hungary. Then, allegedly, he got killed accidentally the next year. He was supposed to be dead by 1975. The trial in this case was going to be September 1974, and the key witness in the case is dead. Isn't that just ducky? And do you know the name of Emery Olichak, the killer, we think the probable killer of Christine Ferrari Demeter? His nickname is the Duck, and he flew away. The duck flew. The duck flew. Ducks are amphibious. They can float or fly. Of Christine Demeter is the Duck, but he's dead. So you can't extradite him, and you can't convict him because he's dead already, right? Allegedly. There's actually no real proof that he's actually dead. Isn't that just par for the course here? There are a number of other people, but Peter incriminates himself in many ways. One is his behavior. Number two is the wiretap on his phone. Number three is his contrived alibi to go buy a gift and to take the family dog with him. Those are little things. But after the trial went on 11 weeks, they called 100 witnesses. The prosecution called 81 witnesses. And, we have the ex-lovers in play. Then Peter is convicted. He doesn't take the stand. He's not one of the 100 witnesses. They have a professional boxer who's a Hungarian and a non-national, and he implicates Christine as wanting to kill Peter. And he also says that he referred Christine to another man by the name of Laszlo, who has a last. Oh my God. It's funny, I can't find any of the name. Laszlo Epper. Joseph Joe DiNardo said under oath that he referred Laszlo Epper to kill Peter, and he referred him to Christine. Doesn't know what happened. Then we have Henry Williams, who killed two co-eds in the area. I'm going to exclude him, but he is a possible suspect, right? And because he's in the area and he could have done it and he could walk over there. But I don't think he did it. I think it's the guy the Duck did it, who fled to Hungary. Emery Olichik. And we have Vert Stark, a member of the French Foreign Legion, and he also knows Emery Olichik, so that's not good. And we have French Foreign Legion mercenary killer instincts in several of these people here. What is kind of a comedy, a black comedy, is that we're getting Kirstine involved in talking to the brokers of the killers too. It's not just Peter. It's not just Peter. We've got four different brokers who know killers: Gaia Viraj, Vert Stark, Joseph Joe DiNardo, and Chaba Zale, the pizza guy. Those are four. And Christine spoke to two of the four, and Peter spoke to three of the husband and wife having conversations with referrals for killers concurrently. They're both trying to kill each other. But it looks like Peter succeeded, and he was a little quicker to take action, right, to show initiative. And Christine got conked on the head in the garage. Anyway, there's much more. I am just touching the surface here of this case. And got to really give a big shout out here to the sophistication of my Star Chamber investigations, which we run on the Zoom, to Rose Papastamos. This is a brilliant murder. It's as good as any case I've ever covered. It's every bit as good as the Zodiac. It's every bit as good as the, hoax Manson family. It's every bit as good as the Dr. Victor Oda massacre of 5 people and a kitty cat. In this case, the dog didn't get killed. Do you know when the murder case trial was going on, Peter Demeter fully implicated himself further by inviting Marina Hunt to move into his mansion house. He ended up getting the dog. Marina Hunt got the dog, right? Remember the dog? Belzebub, the dog. Marina came to court with the dog and with a leash, walking the dog in front of the courthouse. And she's living in the murder house at 1437 Dundas Crescent North, second home to the dead end cul-de-sac. She's got the dog and she's got the house, and she's 29 years old, and she's living in Christine Ferrari's house. She's a model from Austria, just like Christine Ferrari was a model from Austria. So that house must be for models for Austria, right? She lived in that house for almost 10 years before that relationship ended. Then Peter got out on parole and was sent to a halfway house, but he hired a man, paid $8,000 to burn down that beautiful house once Marina moved out, and he burned the house to the ground, but it has been rebuilt. But he was convicted of murdering, attempting to plan the murder of numerous people because he got a new girlfriend, Lisa Ross, and he gave her power of attorney, and he told her to pay $25,000 to kidnap uh, his cousin's his nephew is the son of his cousin, and then asked for $400,000 ransom. Then he told her to hire a kidnapper for his lawyer, who is very dissatisfied. Which, by the way, anyone who has a criminal defense lawyer is going to be dissatisfied. Get in line, right? Toby Bellum. He had Lisa Ross talk to someone about kidnapping the daughter of Toby Bellman, and then pay an extra $5,000 to kill her if it was necessary. It was 25,000 to kidnap her and 5,000 to kill her. So she then is implicated in organizing the kidnapping and murder of the daughter of his lawyer, Toby Bellman. So she's arrested. Then, of course, they make a deal with her. If she testifies against her boyfriend, they'll drop her charges. So she testifies against her boyfriend on August 15th, 1985. Needless to say, that's the end of the relationship. The romance is now over, and Peter is now put back into prison with 2 life sentences, one for kidnapping and one for planning a murder for hire for $30,000. Okay, I'm leaving. I think I put in the most material ones. The jury thought that Peter Demeter did plan the murder of Christine Ferrari Demeter, an Austrian model, age 33. And I think he did plan it too. But I think that an invisible hand behind him. It's a lot like the John Ramsey case, except or a Paul Pelosi case, except that Paul Pelosi and John Ramsey are apparently invaluable enough that they don't have to spend any time in jail. Whereas they threw the book at Peter Demeter and they gave him 10 years. They let him out, and then he burned his house down and threatened his cousin and his lawyer. So he went back to the big house. That's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Do like and share my video. Become a paid member. Get yourself a Juxtaposition 1 mug. This will hold an adult beverage as well as your favorite coffee drinks. I am heavily shadow banned. The only way to grow my channel is 1 subscriber at a time. Take care, everyone, and we're probably going to review this case with Rose personally on a Zoom Star Chamber meeting. Stay tuned. Talk to you later. Bye now.